What is up? Welcome back to Mangalku, the only manga book club on YouTube on the internet of all time. I'm declaring it right here, right now.
Yes,
So,
yes.
This week we read Goodnight Punpun, all of them. So there is 7 volumes, which doesn't sound like a lot, doesn't sound super crazy, but there's 7 omnibus volumes, which really means in normal manga terms, it's 13 volumes.
That's insane.
So, and, some would say not the best one to really binge read. It could take an emotional toll on your mental health, I would say.
Not gonna lie, I was pretty depressed most of the week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's by far, out of all of the manga we've reviewed, the darkest. 100%.
What is life, guys?
And it's not even dark in the sense of like people like are fucking getting stabbed and brutally murdered and space monsters. It's just real.
It's too
fucked.
real for comfort almost.
It's depressing. So this
Yeah.
is by Inio Asano. I don't know if they have any other works they've done before this. I just know that this one is talked about a lot.
Yep.
I see it a lot, and so we're finally reading it / have read it, and wow.
So I went to the Wikipedia after finishing it to try and see like, was this based on a true story? Was there like other stuff? And apparently he's known for like he got famous, the mangaka, and he did like almost like a feel good manga, and then he's just like, I don't want to do that. I want to meme on the reader. And he apparently every time he would release a volume and more stuff would happen, people would get mad and he would try and double down.
Smart.
So it was literally he's just like, I don't want anything good to happen.
I think
It fucking comes through big time.
yeah, it was done beautifully though.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah, really,
the
really,
artwork
really
was
well done.
fantastic.
It was crazy, and it's like the story, as much as like that kind of sounds like, oh, I'm just gonna make something double down even more.
Yeah.
It was done really well all
Yeah.
the way through. It wasn't like
Half-ass.
that came out of nowhere. I don't know
Yeah.
why he just doubled down like that. It was constantly like, man, poor fucking Punpun.
Yeah.
Straight up, like damn, dude.
And we always meme on like place or things like Bleach or something where they're like, oh, we did all this setup for fucking weeks and weeks, and then it's like, yeah, but like in the very first fucking few chapters, like none of that setup was there.
Yeah.
They had characters from like the very beginning come all the way back at the very end, and you're just like, holy shit, you played that.
Yeah, it was crazy well done. It kind of tries to take you like to some deep like inner thinking place, and it's just like, man, I just honestly. Okay, let's just go right back to the beginning of what we ask every time.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of it? Honestly, no spoilers. Let's give if somebody is thinking maybe, hey, I want to check a Goodnight Punpun. Yes, no.
I feel stressy depressy. I literally read the last half of it yesterday, and it gets infinitely worse in those last sections. So it's just like I don't think it's a good binge read.
Jose?
I don't think it's a good binge read, but I do think you should read it.
You do?
It's depressing and sad and all that stuff, but at the same time, you kind of come out feeling like, all right, well, I survived, I guess.
I would say if you're someone who is already depressed or has some sort of a mental health issue, I would avoid this like plague. Yeah. Because it's not going to help you. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to make you feel better. It's not going to make you have a different outlook on life. It's not going to turn you around and be like, wow, I shouldn't be depressed anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I heard some people said it helped with their depression, but I'm like,
I can't imagine.
I don't know.
That's like one of those, if you just flip the coin enough times, you just kind of get a good expectation.
It took them so deep, they came out the other side.
Yeah,
you know what this is? This is probably like everyone has their sad day playlist. You know, you just listen to sad music all day, and it's like, I feel a little bit better. I think if you read maybe one chapter, you're like, okay, I feel a little bit better.
Yeah, there might be something to say about reading it every, a little bit every once in a while. But it's like, as a whole, as a completed story, it's very dark. It's very depressing.
There was a hole inside of me at some point, dude. I was like, wow.
There's some parts of the manga that just it's so down on your luck. Like, you're not having fun. Like,
well, even when it's good, when you know things are good, you know it's not going to last.
Because he hits you with that line where it's like, but that didn't last long, now did it? And you're just like, oh, God, what's happening?
It's like a motif the whole time. They're like, happiness is fleeting, all this stuff. And it's like, I know it's not going to be happy. Yeah. It's if you stare long enough into the abyss stares back into you. Like that was this book in entirety.
Yeah, it's a wild one. So like I said, it is 13 volumes, 7 omnibuses for the US release. I don't know how it is everywhere else. That being said, we're going to move into kind of a spoiler section and kind of talk about everything that happened in here.
Yeah. And there's a lot.
If you don't want it spoiled, exit now. We did really like it. I think pretty unanimous, but it's just very dark, very dark.
It takes its toll on the reader.
So with that, there's your warning. Let's start from the beginning with little kid Punpun. He has a bad time. He has a
little kid
bad time.
Whoosh.
And they kind of they towards the end they kind of bring it back to this one critical moment where he kind of turned into this really shy kind of hiding himself kid where he tries to go actually get the shooting star because he doesn't want his friend to be a liar. And so like that wraps it all back around to where like he was once a very talkative, a very outgoing kid, like a normal like level
his dad
kid.
Explains.
Did it stress you out when, because like it's one of those books where the main protagonist is not fully sane at all times.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did it fuck with you a little bit when you agreed with him? Like, because there were times I was reading it, I'm like, I get this. Like,
I don't think I ever agreed with him. Ever.
I
think he was so unrelatable to me.
And
it was just like I got annoyed with him at times.
There were times where it should have been like, yes, that's the right thing to do, but he's like, nah.
It was so clear to me, and it's like they kind of wrap it around at the end of the manga where everybody around him is trying so hard to adapt to Punpun and to help Punpun.
And they understand
and
him.
like they try so hard.
What is it at the end that they say? They're like, oh, that's just the way he is. Sometimes he just needs time to be himself.
And
that's
Yeah, but it's like everybody tries so hard for Punpun, and then every time he just like the big motif of the whole manga is he wants to have sex. I mean,
pretty much.
Once you get to the middle part of the manga, that's like it. It's he wants to have sex. And it's like he can't see past wanting to have sex to see that he's fine. He's totally fine. He's living a great life. He's living on his own. He has his mother's savings at one point.
He has good friends.
Yes,
and all this
he's
stuff.
got it all set up, and he cannot see past that one point.
He keeps that same friend all the way until the end.
Yep.
He was super cool about everything too. Like he was that one guy.
Yeah, Mimura. He's really cool. Really cool.
I would have hated him as an actual friend, but he was a good guy.
I thought he was pretty cool.
I
liked him.
He did come off as very, like, oh, I'm loud, funny guy, like, haha. But then you do see, like, when they're trying to find Punpun, that he's actually a good guy.
Yeah,
he was like,
understands
I respect
him.
Punpun.
But I also liked that when he did grow up, he wasn't fully not himself anymore. Like, he didn't die. He still had, I still have these amazing abs. And, like, hey,
he was still a funny guy,
here's my arms and stuff.
Him and his girlfriend were great.
Absolutely great.
My God, I love them.
I also, in that group, I mean, just everybody in the older group was amazing. Like, the old guy loved him. I hated
I think that was one of the big key points at the end of the manga for me, which I thought was super, super interesting, is Shuntaro is one of his childhood friends that he leaves very early. We see him, he talks to Mama Punpun when she's in the hospital. And then that's it. We don't see him ever until like the very end of the manga, and he's getting married. They go to a school reunion. Obviously, Punpun doesn't show up, but he runs into Punpun on the streets, and he's like, he can kind of tell, like, we don't relate anymore. Like, we're not a thing.
He's like that guy I used to know.
But then you see Punpun and all of his friends, and Shuntaro's like, I feel like Shuntaro was like, he's living a good life. Like, and he's had an awful, like, us as the viewer know that Punpun is at a bad time of it. Awful time.
Like, even if you cut out all of his bad decisions, he still had an awful life.
So, like, Punpun has had it rough, but you look at where he is now, he's surrounded by friends. Like, he's got all of
his own family.
Like, the
ending was very bittersweet almost.
Yeah, he's very happy, and then I kind of felt like, I kind of related to almost like Shuntaro, whereas, like, he has lived the normal life. Like, he has done the right things. He's become a teacher. He's getting married. And it seemed like he was the sad one at the end. He was like, oh.
Yeah, more like the one who complied and obeyed
really
society and everything.
Yeah, I
didn't expect that.
He was like the normal guy. Like, I would say, like, he's the normal Japanese guy. Like, he did everything the correct way. Went to school, got married. Did the whole
good job, all that stuff.
And then he meets Punpun, and who's just like had this awful go of it, but now like he is so much happier.
Yeah, that's true. And it's weird because when I was doing all the Wikipedia stuff to try and find out some things, one of the things got brought up. They're like, he purposely wrote that last chapter in Harumi's perspective to be like, here's what a normal person would see of Punpun. I was like,
so
that's really cool.
Outside looking in kind of thing. Yeah,
and I didn't even think like, he looks like. I mean, obviously, all the people surrounding him were amazing and they were super good for him. But like I didn't really think like, he had a good life. And or had a good way, like movement into that good life.
He had a healthy family and stuff at the end, people who cared for him and all that. But looking back at his journey was just God, he had to go through hell just to make it there.
It was really brutal. And like some of the characters, like I was Team Sachi from the moment she was introduced.
Oh my God.
The minute, yeah.
The moment they met at like the artist thing, and he was staring at the starry and like
she
the
walked
Milky
up,
Way,
I was like, oh my God,
I was like, they should end up together.
I never once thought that in that very
away.
end or that very beginning part. I liked her. And I loved that he wrote all that. Like I thought it was great. But I like that they met. They make people meet, and then I remember when you find out that she was the chick at the fucking My head fucking blew up.
Oh my God.
It was like it is crazy how like they don't ever like at the very end they kind of do. But the full team doesn't ever reassemble.
No.
The original little kid team never fully reassembles.
Yeah.
Seki kind of, he does his own thing. Like he's
Seki and Shimizu are together the whole time.
And now Shimizu has
Shuntaru dips, like we talked about. He's the guy who comes back at the very end.
Yeah.
And then obviously Aiko and Punpun, they have their whole thing, which we'll get to. And they don't ever, the five of them don't ever come back together, ever.
I thought that was kind of sad that we didn't see them get reunited. But at the same time, I totally get it because that's the way life ends up taking you.
Yeah, I agree. It's not, and I feel like had they gotten together and like had their, like, that would have been so anti-Punpun.
Yeah.
I like, oh, look at this happy little ending.
Right? Didn't they make it seem like he joined it?
They
and like
they kind of did because they look away for a second. They're like, oh, I'll accept him, and then but they don't.
Yeah. So one of the things, obviously, Punpun looks like in the manga, and his whole family are like bird.
Yes,
things, like crudely drawn bird creature things.
Yeah, and it was one, a gotcha to like, hey, it's a kid's book, like you can read this, and then it fucks with you, and two, it's like you can like imagine who he is. I don't think his name is Punpun either. Like,
I don't think they ever really officially reveal his name. I think that's what everyone was saying.
Because at the very end,
I too went to like a comment section and looked for stuff on the forum, and a lot of people were saying like, oh yeah, you never really find out his true face, his true name, anything. It's like all this.
Yeah, Yuichi's like the only person in that family that has a real name. Yeah. Everyone has like Punpun.
Did you guys like his uncle?
I did.
He was the best character.
I wouldn't say he was the best character.
I don't think
I liked him a lot at the beginning. I thought he was really fantastic, and then he kind of went through his own
dark,
and he kind of like he did not have. I don't think he had that much of a happy ending himself. Like he was very like I would say specifically after the part where he very clearly finds out that Punpun has banged his now.
Weird.
He was very somber. Like it was just kind of like, I am just kind of a husk doing my thing.
Yeah. But he even said like, I kind of wanted this. Like,
he did.
He was
but
willing
like,
for
he's
that
also
sacrifice.
that glutton for punishment guy where he's like, I deserve this. I deserve to be unhappy. And it's like, this is what I want to do.
That was his most annoying.
And it was like, oh, that sucks. And it's like in a weird turn of events, we take it back all the way to the beginning of the manga. Papa Punpun kind of came out the best out of all of them.
He did.
He was legitimately the happiest out of all of them.
What was his saying to all his friends? Like, I'm happiest at this moment or something like that. It was like, oh.
He came out the best. And it's like he got the most fucked at the beginning as well.
Yep.
Where you find out that Mama Punpun lied and fucking got him completely taken away from Punpun.
Yes.
Where Mama Punpun attacked him.
Yeah.
Like she got crazy, attacked him with a knife, and he defended himself. And she was like, he abused me. It's all his fault.
Yeah.
Take him away.
Yeah.
Mama Punpun was, for the most part, she was terrible.
I hated her probably the most of all the characters.
It sucks because there's people that have moms like that too.
Yeah, it is brutal. Like it does get real close to home for like if you have kind of like abusive relationship with your mom, like that sucks.
That sucks. I mean, luckily we all had pretty great parents that cared for us. But
and like I wouldn't say she was particularly a bad person. I think she just had a lot like she had a lot of bad things in her life too. Yeah. Whereas like she was trying to deal with it. She kind of talks about like she always needed to be the strong person. She always needed to like be herself and do so. She had to put up this like protective wall where it's like even like when they're all four living together, like Yuichi, Punpun, and everybody's having a good time. They all like what's happening. They're like, this is great. This is like a brief moment where we're a happy family.
It was even worse when Yuichi's like, I think it's because we knew that this wasn't going to last forever that we're happy with it. Yeah. I was like,
enjoy the little things.
Yeah.
It's sketch. But what hurt me, and I think I came out, I was reading it and I was talking to Sam and I'm like, oh, it's when she gets cancer and then you find out right after, because she doesn't live for very long. No. You thought she was going to die in surgery. Yeah. They made it seem like she was literally going to just not come out of the surgery. And then right after that, you have cancer. Yeah.
But it's gotcha. Like crazy because Midori then spends most of the time with her, helping her.
Oh, I loved her too.
Midori was so sweet.
As fucked up as she was.
I mean, the thing she did was pretty fucked up.
I think she was genuinely a good good person.
She was the most mother-like figure.
She was trying as hard as she could to do the right thing.
Yeah, she took care of Punpun.
She obviously had one really glaring bad moment.
Yeah.
Did you see that coming though?
I did, because they started playing with that whole thing way too much.
Right when Yuichi kind of started going off the rails, that's when Punpun really became really sex obsessed.
The old in and out.
Yeah, very quickly, he was like, I want to have sex. Then it's like, oh, where's Yuichi? We can't find Yuichi. She's like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah, I was just like, oh,
here we fucking go.
And then it was creepier when she's like, just lay down with me. And then and I was like, oh,
I kind of thought that was
sweet,
molest him. But then I saw him looking at her boobs and I know where this is going. But it was fucked up because it's one of those things where it's always like, oh, if guys got laid by an older chick, that's nice, but people don't talk about how fucked up they can get from it. That was him getting he got sexually assaulted, and I hated that when they were fucking, he immediately thinks of his childhood crush.
He got sexually assaulted? Is it just because he's young?
Well, he pushed her off, and he's like, no, and then she's like, just let me do it, kind of thing. Sure. And I think sexual assault is weird, especially when you're at that age, because you can't really say you don't know what's going on fully.
Yeah, so you're saying it's an age thing.
I think it's an age thing
because he very clearly wanted to have sex.
Yes, but I don't think it was with her. I don't think.
Well, I don't think he cared who it was with.
Yeah,
he was just constantly any girl that came into his life, which is a running thing through the whole manga.
Yeah,
any girl he wants to have sex.
Dude, it got gnarly. Yeah. I mean, if we go back to the whole gallery thing, he went out with that one girl. Her sister.
Yeah,
and he pushed himself onto her and stuff.
Yeah,
yes,
which was wow.
And it's just a running theme where I don't know why or how you would explain, but he keeps wanting to have sex, and it starts with Midori, where he's like, I want to have sex, and obviously she does put the moves on him.
She's the one that takes advantage.
But then he does have sex with her, and he's like, I don't feel good.
No,
I don't. I feel empty. And then
that
he tries
the chick that he wanted.
He tries again, and he's still the same thing as I don't feel good. This is not. And he still goes, and it's like, dude,
and he'll have random fucking encounters too where he bangs. One of the weirder sexual things though was his next door neighbor, the
couple that's always banging.
He meets them one time, or they show that he meets them one time, and then he literally jacks off to the thought of licking that person, being licked. And he becomes him.
He goes into some really dark places, and it's I think that is just one of those things where it's I'm sure that happens to people, and it's that's just nobody's gonna talk about that. Nobody's gonna fucking admit to, I used to hear the sex my neighbors were having, and I jacked off to it. No one is gonna say that. It
wasn't just jacking off to it. It was I want to. He literally.
He stole his identity at one point.
Exactly. That was when I lost him. I was sitting there I kind of understand. Even if you're not thinking of being a sexual predator, the sexual urges and constantly having that shit in the back of your head, but he went full fucking psycho, but and you see him lying. That was the crazy part.
He talked about how he is so unhappy with himself. He is so doesn't fit in, doesn't understand anybody, doesn't get why people are happy, doesn't like the monotony of everyday life. But it becomes easier if he just pretends to be somebody else.
Which I totally get that.
I get that for...
I think it's the method he got there.
I agree with Josh on that one. It's just gnarly that you hate yourself so much you have to become someone else.
That's pretty... I think that's a perfect way to explain it. He hated himself so much that the only way he could continue through life, because this is also when the 2 years were up and he could not find Aiko, so it's I have to, and he made himself kind of a self-promise, I will kill myself.
I was stressing that whole time. I was
2 years goes up, so instead they kind of bait you oh, this was the last life of Punpun.
We literally get to see him grow up.
We
see him grow up depressed all the way through, and then I don't know, anytime he sees Aiko, it's almost I want him to be happy.
Josh made an interesting prediction, which I thought was going to come true, is we were basically going to follow Punpun through his whole life.
Yeah. That's what I thought so too.
I think, I don't know why, I looked up an image of Punpun and I saw him in the Fujikawa or whatever outfit where he was all dressed up and it's just his head. I was like, oh, that's him as a businessman. And I'm like, oh fuck, because we were in high school by volume 4 and there's
we were
13.
zooming.
Yeah, and I was like, oh yeah, we're totally going to be there at the end, and the final words to him was good night, Punpun.
When he starts talking to God.
Yes.
Oh God.
Dude, the stuff that was going on. Kill him. When he saw Aiko with that one
God was fucked up.
So that was just his dark thoughts. That's that's your subsection of your subconscious, and he would just bring that
meanwhile,
out.
Poop God was cool.
Poop God.
Hey, you can do it, man. Hey.
What was that?
I don't know.
I was so confused. I thought
I think
this kid has
that
autism.
ties into the whole Pegasus storyline where he kind of talks about how he was trying to find the Dark Mark, and he couldn't figure out if Dark Mark's a person, if it's a thing.
And I think Dark Mark was his personal gods, the weird.
So he does say that he thinks that everybody kind of has their own personal God that they see. Like everybody kind of puts their purpose onto something, whether that be, and I think he specifically is like, whether that be a Japanese comedian or whether that be this or whether so he does like point out to this being that thing. I kept thinking the dark mark was going to be Punpun.
Yeah, same.
I did too.
That's what
I thought they were going to kill
him. Dude, the whole time I was like, they're gonna fucking find him.
Yep.
They made it seem like fucking Seki was gonna blow up the fucking buildings or something, like he was gonna press a button, it would detonate a bomb.
Yep.
They made Punpun seem like he was gonna have to be killed or be like purified or something so that he wasn't the dark spot. I thought it was gonna go way better. And you know what's weird though is like there's other like I can't think of anything specifically, but there's like a running trend where like, oh, you guys, maybe Game of Thrones, you guessed this was gonna happen, well fuck you, we're not gonna do that because we want to go off the beaten trail, and then it's a worse story for it. This one was like, fuck you, I can make something 10 times worse and it's a good story. And it was just like, I didn't ask for this.
So do you think, the whole Pegasus storyline and like they're trying to save the world, the world's gonna end on July 7th or whatever they said, did they save the world? Is that
No,
they literally all
I think
died in the fire.
The big part of it that they show, and obviously they show all of them in the UFO, like later, bye, like they did save the world, or you don't know what happened, and Shimizu is there because he's pretty much dead. Like,
did he get like amnesia?
Yeah, I think he lost his memory. Like he's like, so he's for all intents and purposes, like if that's like a really like hypercritical. But if you lose your memory, you're pretty much dead. Like you're a new person.
Yeah.
Like if you lose all of your memory, you're somebody else.
And so I think that was like his memories going up.
Yes. But they kind of set this whole thing up, like they're basically, he's gonna change the world. He's gonna be the new prophet. He's gonna be crazy.
And I wanted it to kind of happen.
Yeah, like we're gonna follow him to do this thing. And I think they kind of seal the deal, which I thought was really interesting because we followed that group very closely. Like as a reader, we follow them very closely. But then they show at the end when he uploads his final video to YouTube or whatever, it only gets like 1,000 views or something like that.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, so I think that was them going like, we follow these guys so closely, but to everybody else, nobody even knows this guy fucking exists.
Yeah.
He has like 1,000 views on his YouTube video, and it's like, that's nothing.
Exactly.
And like that's his final video. Like you won't be hearing from me again. 1,000 views.
And he only did like what, 2 public appearances?
Yeah.
Yep.
And like
when he wanted to run for mayor,
and he was just a joke.
Yeah.
I didn't know
whether to take that part serious or not because I didn't know if it was just kind of a distraction.
I mean, they were kind of fucked up. They were breaking into houses and assaulting people and stuff.
It was like
they were doing shit.
Like with the hammer scene?
Charles Manson thing.
It was a cult. Oh, 100%,
very
100%
much.
it was a cult.
It was super weird. And then his friend guy, the stalker / weird beard.
The cool biker guy with the beard. Yeah,
good vibes, dude. Good vibes.
When he took his glasses off and he had the two.
Yes,
I didn't understand. Like there was a lot of visuals in this novel that were so
liked
weird.
him and Seki. I was like, I kind of like the relationship that the two of them were having, where he was basically like, we're both friends to dreamers. Like that is like, that is like, we're the realists to their dreamers. Like obviously the shit they're saying is not real. Like like, and we are stuck to them, like trying to make them a help. And I like Seki a lot.
Yeah, I like Seki a lot.
As a character was really good.
That
shit
bit with the mom, and he's like, and you can only grab one of them. Well, for those of us that don't know, it's like, what was it? He would walk home with his best friend and his mom, and while they were walking home, a car came out of nowhere, and he could only save his friend.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
What? Are you serious?
Really? Oh, I forgot.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shimizu's mom's dead.
Yeah. Well, I know she's dead. I didn't realize that she died. Oh, he was there.
Yeah.
Because it was them three.
There's so many layers.
And he grabbed Shimizu and saved them, and the whole time he stopped them from seeing his mother's, probably her corpse. So he's like, no, don't look. She's right here with us. And I'm like, God, I can't imagine being a kindergartner or however old he was, and telling your best friend, like, hey,
and
don't look.
And you take that back and you kind of put that, because he was very young when he did that. And that kind of explains Seki as a character.
Exactly.
Like, he is the classic, like, he's got tons of family problems going on. Like, he is too adult for how old that he is in a lot of this manga. And that's why he's like, he doesn't do well in school. He drops out. He's basically homeless at one point.
He finally got the girlfriend, and then gets assaulted by the... Was it like a Yakuza?
I think it was just like his hitman.
It was his boss. His boss's
boys
hitman.
to fuck you up.
Like, they fucked them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he constantly was like, he's too smart for his own good, and he's depressed. Like
he was insanely smart. Like I liked at the end where he's like, I like this recycling job because I could just steal books.
Yep.
And
I was like, I've never thought about that.
And he tried his hardest for Shimizu constantly.
He did.
And it was just like, it was one of those classic things where if they were just both better at communicating, it would have been solved. But it's like the two of them, like Shimizu is obviously like he's kind of out there as we see.
You hear that, Captain Yamamoto?
And like Seki is just the realist. So it's like they're both trying to communicate where like Shimizu feels like he's not being listened to. Seki feels like he can't like properly tell
like
Shimizu.
two halves of the same thing.
Yes.
And like one's all emotion, one's all thought. And it was stressful.
Their relationship was crazy. It was literally yin
it was
and
a
yang.
great storyline. Like I was really interested in that storyline a lot. Like whenever we went over there, it's like, oh, cool.
They did, and that was what was cool too. Is they did such a phenomenal job at telling three different stories at the same time. Yeah. And at no point did I feel like, oh, I'm in this storyline, or like, oh, I can't stand this. Like I just like it was like, oh, what's gonna happen? Yeah, it was so good.
Really, really good. Do we want to talk about the kind of the secondary main star of the whole series, Aiko? Do we want to go all the way back through Aiko? What did you guys think of Aiko?
Well, I mean, when I first met her, she was crazy. I was like, oh, that's kind of an interesting thing.
Almost think they could write if we went Twilight Path and we did a whole other set of books on Aiko, and what they could easily
farewell
do that.
Aiko,
like easily, because she, from what little we see, obviously we follow Punpun through most of the manga. She has just as shitty as a life as Punpun.
I agree.
Controlled by her mother the whole time.
Like just having to walk around as a kid with her mom. She's like, dude, it was so devastating to hear. Like, I thought you told me you lived over here. Yeah. And so because like she was trying to like get her mom to not go anywhere near her
your
friends.
First reaction where it's like, oh, she's crazy. Where it's like, she's basically girl Punpun. Like she is.
Exactly, and that was what's scary. Yeah. But she was a great character at the end. Yeah. Like I loved her at the end.
I felt so bad for her because she never smiled. She always had these boyfriends, and eventually she grows up to be a model technically for a while.
So I have a legit question for you guys. Do you think that Aiko really did kill her mom, or was she to the end trying to protect Punpun?
I think she might have done it. I genuinely think she might have done it.
She should have been dead.
I know.
Yeah.
So do you think, because Aiko, to the very end, like before she kills herself, she reaffirms again, I killed my mom.
But she took that to the grave with her.
Yeah.
So I think she did.
I think she did too. Because like she wanted to save him from the very beginning.
Oh my God, that whole last 2 volumes was just a mindfuck.
And that was one of the only times that we truly heard when he was finally with Aiko that Punpun was self-appointed happy.
Yeah.
That was the only time through the whole manga
but
when they're on the run for murder.
Seeing that hurt me so bad. They went from let's finally visit that place we were supposed to before I didn't show up, and she's okay with it.
Beautiful.
And it's a gorgeous area scenery, and they're having fun, but at the same time she's fucked up. She's got a stab wound.
The worst part for me was when they're like, we got to get to the city, and they ditch the taxi.
Oh,
I thought they were going to die the whole time, and then they get to the city. Due to complications, we're no longer in this city or something like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to punch a fucking hole through a wall. I was so irate.
I felt so bad for her, though. She literally hung herself afterwards, and I'm just...
when they were originally going, so, he gets together with Aiko, they finally meet, and they basically lie to each other. They both completely put up a fake life.
She seemed so happy, and I was like, wow, this is not the same girl.
They were both doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
it's kind of like... It's a fucked up Romeo and Juliet, and Romeo and Juliet's already fucked up. But it was so beautiful.
And I was kind of mad at Punpun again.
Oh, yeah.
When he ditches fucking Sachi.
Yeah.
To go with goddamn Aiko.
He had a good thing going with Sachi. Like, I understand their relationship wasn't technically boyfriend girlfriend. Like, we're together, and then she gets pregnant from her ex-husband.
I mean, but is it her ex-husband's kid? Because
she said she
I
confirmed
think
it was.
she said that, but I think there's a point where
he disappears for a while, and then she obviously goes.
I also had sex with Punpun.
She did,
so
but he wore a condom.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, because remember it was like
he said
there's
a
panel
raw or something,
like a couple weeks or like a couple chapters before, and it's like, oh, I want to have sex.
I just feel like this manga is so full of lies, and I'm just like. That could very easily be Punpun's
It's kind of hard to
kid.
tell what's the truth and what's not.
But obviously, I think if it was Punpun kids, it would have come out as a bird.
That's true.
Yeah, but I genuinely believe that it was her ex-husband that impregnated her and stuff like that.
Because he was already in her life still, like to like back her up from the Wabu or whatever, Webu. But I hate to say it because she's best girl, just absolute best girl. she needed to get off her own fucking high horse. That time when like the fucking
the manga
manager gets tackled and he's like,
"Oh, dude, I felt so
don't worry,
bad
you're
for
a
him.
Genius. Like you'll get through this." Like he genuinely tried to be good to her and try to support her.
He didn't try to be good to her. You're so wrong.
You don't think so?
Wrong.
Why?
Because he was telling her what he thought she wanted her to hear. You don't want to like. Okay, imagine you're this person, and she talked about it to Punpun before. Everybody calls me a genius. It's all I ever fucking hear. Is like, you're a genius. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, and then she reveals that I am not like this perfect being. Like all of my beauty is plastic surgery. Like,
which was a weird twist. That was
like,
one of the weirder ones.
I had no idea.
Yeah, like none of that. It's basically just showing like she is not like everybody keeps calling her this perfect thing, and she's not like by a long shot. And Punpun, knowing what he knows,
that's fair, is like, oh, you're a genius, you'll be fine. I think whereas like you don't want to hear that. Like I would be fucking annoyed. Like you just get shot down on this big dream that you've been working on for a year or whatever. You're a genius, you'll be fine. It's like that is so unconstructive, so non-helpful. I would be mad. I'd be so mad. Yeah, that's fair. And I did kind of gloss over that, like that when she told
and that's a running theme where it's like even with not Sachi's sister, but you know the girl he tried to sexually assault before, where she said the same thing, where he's like, you're just faking it. You're just trying to like tell me what you think I want to know, and it's annoying. It's like you're not you.
Yeah, exactly. And I fully agree with that, like that sentiment where it's just like if you're just saying things to get to people's like, this is where you want to be. Yeah. That's it, like, everything you want to hear. I get that, but I also think like. I do agree. She was selfish. He was selfish.
I mean, so her motif was that she is very demanding. Like, and it is like that is her thing where she is like this elitist that she's like, and even her best friend is like, don't forget when you get in trouble, I get pulled in with you. Like, please remember that.
Yeah, and I did like that at some points her friend was like, hey, you also have to consider Punpun's feelings. She
was wrong almost 100% of the time, by the way.
Her friend?
Yeah. Almost Connie? 100% of the time. And we, from a viewer or like a reader, know that. I can see where she's coming from.
She's being a good, realistic person.
She's trying to give like the kind of the opposite, like, let's not forget, maybe Punpun wants this.
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's like all of her advice were like, oh, well, he'll just come back. He doesn't.
He does not.
It's like,
she had to go and find him at the end.
She was never right through the whole thing, and it's just like, oh, he's probably off doing this. It's like he's like off murdering somebody. It's like,
well, one of the weird things that I found in the Wikipedia thing is I guess he thought the way this should end is Punpun dies, like he kills himself. That's how it was going to end. He thought it was a worse fate that he didn't die and that he was permanently stuck with Sachi. Like he was going to have to live with all of his fucking.
I get that.
Pre-guilt.
That makes sense.
I mean, they've done that before in like shonen anime before, where it's like someone will try to kill himself, and it's like, no, it's like you need to live in a tone. Sasuke fucking does that.
Oh, good point.
Good point. It's like
not as dark.
But like that's such like a Japanese. I don't even know if it's a Japanese thing, but like it happens in anime all the time, where they're like, oh, well, I'm gonna go
is a thing.
Sacrifice myself. It's like, no, that's the fucking cheap way out, bitch. You fucking stay alive and you atone for what you did, cocksucker.
Reap what you sow was like the whole main thing.
Yes,
exactly. They did say it a couple of times too.
And somebody like, again, I was really, once I finished it, I couldn't go to sleep. My heart hurt. The first time I ever had this was like Gurren Lagann at the very end of Gurren Lagann. I was like, my heart hurts. I'm not sleeping tonight. This fucked me up. So I was just like, I have to read more about it. And one of the things that got brought up was that the reap what you sow, he does nothing. He literally, if he does nothing, nothing happens, and it just keeps getting worse. Like the only time he ever really does something is he fucking murders the mom.
Yes,
and it just goes fucking off the rails at that point. And like that was the one time he felt good about himself too.
I mean, and I think it was Punpun at the end, wasn't it? Where he was just talking about he just kind of goes with the wind at this point. Like, he just kind of follows wherever he's going.
Yeah,
like,
and it's fucked.
It's just like, once again, like I was saying, the happiest person to come out of all of this is Papa Punpun, who
barely remembers life. He just lives out there.
Yeah, and he's got his group of friends that they like get together. He's got the 2 little kids that'll come and hang out with him. Like,
were you sad it wasn't him writing the letters that whole time though?
When I saw that, I was like, ooh, I felt kind of bad.
Was it not him writing the letters?
No, the mom said the mom was writing it.
In my honest opinion, I feel like he wrote 1 or 2, and then she just he stopped sending them, so she kept writing them, kind of thing. Like that makes the most sense to me,
because she wanted him to still have a connection to his father, kind of thing.
Because I don't think she was emotionally intelligent enough to think this is what Punpun needs, like a father figure. So let me continue writing these. Because obviously, no matter what, I would also say that's more the case, because I would say the father wrote one weird thing about the giants and aliens and shit, and she just ran with that fucking, like, she didn't have any other things to write about. And so she just went with it.
But, like, he was involved. So it's like, I would assume that he has some sort of contact.
Remember, he shows up again, and then
he's like,
that's why about as far as I can take you.
I guess you guys might be right. I guess I didn't put that together.
It was the mom who did it.
Because, I thought, I remember she did write the letter at the end, and it's like you find out that it is, like, from Papa Punpun, you know.
Which I like how Yuichi's like, do you really think that was the best idea to give that to him right now? Like, he just lost his mom, and it's like, hey, he had to know.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. Like, it was even worse.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that, because, like, it's not like he was absent. Like, he made multiple times to try to connect with him, and I think when he does the last time he sees Punpun before, like, he's gone for the big bulk of the manga, he talks about the same stuff. Like, that's why I just assume that it's the same thing, but maybe I was right.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I do think she realized that because you start seeing he's got almost like Alzheimer's, like near the end, where he just forgets a bunch of stuff. He can't even remember people's names.
Well, and when he does start to remember and talk about Punpun, he starts crying. Like,
yeah.
So you think he's all fucked up in the head where he pulls all that shit out?
I think he's pretty much blocked that out. Like,
because that's what people do.
He got fucked.
Yeah,
he did.
Like that, Mama Punpun fucked him hard.
And it was so fucking crazy to see her do the same exact fucking thing again to that rando.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was just like, God damn.
He took her to the hospital and everything.
Yeah, that was like the downward spiral for her. It was like, it's done. It's done.
And I mean, like, that's how she kind of needed to go, I think.
But it's like, it's one of those fucking things, you know, where it's like, it takes for someone to be on their literal deathbed
for them to
be like, I want to become a good mom. Like, I see, like, I was wrong. Like, I want to be a good mom. I think she even wanted to start connecting to Papa Punpun again. Like,
she did.
She was like, all I wanted was for him to say, I'm sorry. And, like, which he doesn't need to say it fucking all.
Yeah.
But is like, that's what she wanted. And that he would happily bring him back in.
She wanted the sorry for other things, not for what she did, because she doesn't. I don't think she realized how fucked she was. But she just wanted to hear from him, like, hey, you know, like, I know I was having a rough time at work. I still love you. All this other stuff. I get that. I really do. But like the whole thing with this manga is like the people you meet kind of give you that different perspective. And so she met Harumi at the worst point in time. Like, that was when she was gonna die. And so the more, like, every time somebody meets someone, you get like this new perspective.
I mean, she was in love with him, by the way. Like,
oh my God, I wanted it to happen so bad. I just wanted to see it. But
hey, his Shintaro's girlfriend that was all like banged up was kind of cute though.
Yeah, I like how at the very end, like, she doesn't, like, everything's normal for her too. Like, it was the same chick. I was like, okay, that's super sweet.
A couple of people made it out in a good way.
Yeah,
but I do think it becomes like very somber, like I was saying, where I just think Shintaro's like, wow, Punpun is living like he's got it, like it's set.
One of the things I always like in anime, like almost like all the shonen style anime, the parents are dead. Like, and you see how much of a
Disney
difference
style.
good parents
Disney
or
style,
like parenting does for these kids. I started this book reading like how like the teacher was all like a fucking sadistic psychopath, and he would scream at the kids because they didn't do their homework, and like all the kids would see their adults as like these fucking dipshit drooling fucking idiots. And I was like, these people are awful, and they're like forming these kids. And it's almost like, I always thought, like, when you grow up, you're responsible for your actions at that point on. Like, doesn't matter if your parents are bad or not. He was set up so fucking poorly as a kid that I don't think he ever had, like, the means to pull himself out, and that's why he became what he was. But, like, the whole parents thing, like, adults, I would be in the same shoes as him, like, when his dad shows up after the mom dies. He's like, I want you to live with me. It's like, you haven't been here. Like, you've done it. Like, I know he tried, but like, I hate when people are like, oh yeah, you know, like, we're best of friends. Come hang out with me. I'm so proud of my kid, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, but you don't know them. Like,
I mean, I think he was trying. Like, that's I think that's unfair.
But it comes off as disingenuous, where it's like, as the person receiving that love and affection,
to me,
it's weird.
Papa Punpun, he was like, I think he was earnestly trying, and I think he was a guy who didn't like the really deep stuff because he was like, even in like the really sad times where like he is at the apartment after Mama Punpun dies, he's trying to be like the joking, funny, and like bring up the mood.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I don't think he wants to have the serious conversation where it's like, where he was like, oh, Punpun, we get each other still. Like, isn't this great? It's like, come live with me.
Yeah. And meanwhile, you have Yuichi over there just like fucking brooding and understanding.
Yes. Yep. So I think he was genuinely trying. He wasn't involved, which I think he does say that he's like not legally allowed to be closer to the house. Like,
he had a restriction, but I think because the mother was dead, I think that's where they got passed.
But that's why I'm saying before he literally could not.
No,
like, that's not his fault. Like,
I agree with that.
He literally, physically, legally could not make a connection with Punpun.
Yeah, and I think. I totally agree. I don't think he was a bad person or doing anything wrong, but it's one of those like you tried your best but you didn't succeed kind of situations where Punpun's on the opposite end and he's like trying to play fucking catch with his son and his son's like, you're throwing it in a different area. Like we're not playing the same game. Like that's not fair that you can just come up out of nowhere, whether or not like it was fair to begin with.
Maybe
like,
that's what Punpun feels, but that's not like
it's not.
That's why I
both
think
valid feelings.
A lot of what I like, I don't relate to Punpun at all. Is he doesn't think of what other people feel. Like he does not.
He's very selfish.
He's so selfish.
Yeah.
And it's like that's one of those things again where he does not understand that his dad is trying his goddamn best. Yeah. And he's just like, nah, fuck you. Like, I'm going to live by myself. I'm going to take my mom's fucking savings. I'm going to go fuck off in my own apartment. Even, like, Yuichi offers to help him as well.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah. And, like, Yuichi does encourage him to be like, okay, as long as you choose your own path, I'm happy for you. Yeah. Do not let anybody else decide that.
They get him a phone and everything.
I like Midori was constantly checking on him. Like,
she
went
motherly.
out of her way. She had no
And
obligation.
he cut her off, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Punpun cut her the fuck off, too.
When fucking Sachi came by, she's like, hey, I have this phone. She's like, oh, he is using it. It's just, it's fucked. But, like, I don't know.
I think Punpun had good intentions.
Yeah.
We, what is it? The path to hell is paved with good intentions. I think that is literally this manga.
Yeah.
Where he was genuinely like your nice, shy kid. Like he had good intentions.
He was literally nobody.
Like he tried to do his thing and he had this whole incident where he just buttoned up. He buttoned up and then he met Aiko and that was just his obsession for the rest of his life was this Aiko character.
Yeah.
And it fucking consumed him.
Yeah. And he didn't know that. Like, and I think also to your point with like the Seki Shimizu part, if he just communicated that shit better, he would have been totally better off.
Yeah.
I felt fucking really sad when he banged Sachi the first time, or like really, I don't know if it's the only time.
Yeah.
And he didn't feel good at it all because it was like, I saw when he was just like, goodbye, everyone, like Aiko, all these other fucking people, like, this is where I'm happy. And then it fucking got all fucked up for a second.
And like, he didn't like, because that's one of the things. He is so self-consumed with Aiko.
Yeah.
So self-consumed that he can't think for a second that like Sachi is a good person.
A good mate,
And like everybody else talking to Sachi's like, you guys are you guys dating?
But to be fair, Sachi didn't accept it either. Like as soon as there was issues.
I mean,
I think she did. I think deep down she knew that should have been a thing.
Yeah.
But she was like,
but I think she was stubborn.
Yeah,
because when they had sex the first time and it didn't go well, she immediately retorted like, "Oh, we don't have to be lovers." Like she immediately gave him that out kind of thing, so that she didn't have to like hurt herself. I feel like it was just like a stubborn protect yourself
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like she clearly wanted to.
But
be
I mean,
with him.
they talk about at the end how the two of Sachi and Punpun are almost like similar as well. That's why they work well together.
They refer to her very similar to his mom.
Yes, exactly. And they always say you want to bang your mom. So
it's so fucked.
But it's like Punpun once again, like he I think at a certain point he understands that he too cares for Sachi. Like that's why he's gonna go help with he gets upset when he finds out that she's pregnant. Like he gets legitimately upset. And he's like, okay, I'll help you go abort this thing. But don't worry about it.
His upset was like, oh, you raw dogged. Like that was like his first initial. So it was immediately sex again. Yeah. Which, I mean, I also got to remind myself that he's like, what, 20 years old? And he's gone through all of that shit. Hormones are a fucking bitch. I totally understand that. And I've been in those like relationship where like somebody... like the mental image of being with that person is a consuming situation. And then I was so happy when he banged Sachi. He was like, he's finally gotten to the point where he's like forgetting about all his previous shit.
Well, they have that one good year. Yeah. And then it's like, it's just after that, he's just like, nah.
Yeah. And I hated when he got to his 2-year mark. He's like, I just took a detour. Like, I'm back at the same spot. I was like, no!
Yeah.
It totally sucks.
He doesn't see the good things.
No.
Like, he's so... Like, this all comes back to Aiko. That's the whole real manga. Is it all comes back to Aiko. Yeah. He's so consumed with this woman that he basically, like... They were going to Romeo and Juliet right at the very start. They were going to go run away, live a happy life. And he could not accept it. He obviously, like, a medical emergency happened. Yeah. But it's like he basically ditched her. And then he has the opportunity, round 2, to not do that to Sachi. Yeah. And he easily picks to do that again because of Aiko. And here's even the moment they drive past her in the car. Same exact thing that happened with Aiko. And he looks for a second, keeps going.
Yep.
So there was, like, 2 or 3 things. One was, like, I love that he would always, like, change the visuals of what Punpun looked like. Yes, so I love when he was, like, demon form.
The little horns and stuff.
And then you turn around and he's normal Punpun again. Yeah. He's like, I'm happy. I was like, oh, I'm going to fucking cry even though this is all fucked up. I love that. I thought 2 things were super weird with Punpun. One, he's only genuinely, like, super caring towards Aiko when they do the mother thing. He's like, I'll do anything for you. Like, that was the one time you see Punpun actively trying to, like, save someone. And then the only time he ever really talks about his feelings is when fucking Aiko's dead and he's carrying her body. It's the only time he starts to be honest with anyone. It's because he's all alone to himself. And I'm like, I hate this. Why can't people just
leave her?
Right.
He just leaves her body. Right?
No, it's not just that. He leaves her body there, and he goes to come back, and she's gone. Right?
I don't think he ever came back.
I think he came back. Yeah,
I think he left
there. I think he left her there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he like went to the next city over, and he just dipped.
On a more like real note, did she really stab him in the eye, and he was just like, "You didn't do it right"?
Yeah. 100%.
Yep.
And it's like it just all comes to which he basically self-reflecting in the self-reflect mode. He wanted her to kill him. Like that's what he eventually comes to this realization.
That was
like,
a promise from her.
Yeah.
Like that it was like a warp. Please do it.
And like he finally figured out like, you know, what I wanted from you was for you to literally kill me for like lying to you. Like you said you would do it. Like
why didn't you do it?
Yeah. And it's like it wasn't this love thing, and it's like you basically see that they're abusive as fuck to each other, by the way. Like they're
a toxic
not
relationship.
A good setup.
I loved how when he fucking hits her, it breaks the tooth, and he's like, "Oh, it's just like you used to be." Like,
oh! And it's crazy when it's like he punches the fuck out of her in a restaurant. He tells everybody like, it's just a fucking like
it's a lover's quarrel.
Like fuck off. And it's like everyone's like, okay.
Like, meanwhile, he's getting stabbed in the eyes, just like you didn't do it right, bitch.
Yeah, it's like really sad, and it's you basically see these two people who they both have fucking wounds on them,
and he gets stabbed. He's got a fucking eye wound. He's already been fucking stabbed in the leg.
And like I could tell so easily when they were going around. It's like they show you that it's like they're both breathing really heavily. It's like. They are both getting sick. It's like the both of them are
taking pills,
and like the pills for both of them stop working at a certain point. And they're like, "Ah, fuck."
Like, when I realized he sewed her up, because first of all, they would not have gone to jail.
No, they would not.
We don't know Japanese laws, but
fair. She attacked first.
Let's just say in American laws, it was 100% self-defense.
Yeah, it was 100% self-defense. He would have gotten in trouble for the level of gratuity he used to kill the person. Like it wasn't just.
Well, she would have.
She would have, because she's the one who stabbed him. Like
she's the one that brutalized her mom. Aiko did.
Oh,
like that's one of the things when they were talking about
the police report comes out. They said that she was already strangled and then stabbed multiple times.
Yeah, like the grotesque part of it was Aiko.
Yeah,
and even Aiko herself was like, "Yeah, I stabbed the fuck out of her." Like,
because she started moving. But he beat her fucking face in.
Yeah,
and she wasn't dead.
Yeah,
so. Yeah, I would agree. The fucking stabs are probably the worst part.
Yeah, if they would have both turned themselves
in. So we do agree that she did kill her.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
That could be a lie, because we don't ever see that.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's one of the reoccurring things. Is like, fucking Punpun tries to ask multiple times, like, are you for real? Like, because she's lied. She's lied multiple times already. And that's why he's like, you lie to me. Like, I don't understand. Like, you're not Aiko.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and the whole thing is like, she lies about not killing him.
Yeah.
And then she's like, no, I'm not lying about this one. It's like, are you though? It's like, because it could be like a very easy thing as well to be like, oh, I didn't want Punpun to get in trouble, so I stabbed the fuck out of her.
Yeah.
And also, she was emotional as fuck. Like she was, like she had been
where she would
physically and emotionally beaten down. Like,
Aiko
was done. Like the moment you see the way she was acting, there was no coming back for Aiko.
No, and it was so weird how they would flip a fucking switch, and it's like, oh, this beautiful beach. This is where you're gonna kill me, aren't you? It's like,
yep.
and then they go to it.
Yep.
They would go from "you're about to kill me" to "we're having sex." You're about to kill me. We're having sex.
Kind of weird, hot, but at the same time, it was mega
Same
fun.
thing in the forest.
Did it also like? I know we're kind of beating around the bush. Not even beating around the bush. We're kind of repeating these cycles. When she comes back to like basically say like, "Hey, I'm running away from home. My mom beat me for fucking being over here." He just immediately rips her top off like out in public.
Yeah, he is
a fucking psychopath.
He's a horn
like
dog.
I said, he is self-consumed with having sex. Like that's what he wants. And then Aiko, who he's also like, it's having sex with Aiko. Yeah. It's like that is his dream. And then he's just like clearly, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's like,
it was just kind of, and like even when they had sex the very first time, she wasn't. They weren't good. Like, it wasn't a good thing, right?
No, it wasn't.
He forced himself onto her kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was just like, it was never, I feel like for the both of them, it was never like a mutual happy thing that they were having. It was constantly like some sort of fucking disarray was happening, and they're going to beat the shit out of each other. One of them is. Yeah. And then they're going to have sex.
Yeah.
Toxic.
Yeah, very toxic. And of course, ends with Aiko hanging herself, but...
Yeah, brutal. I didn't understand the panties in the mouth thing.
I think that was just so she would not make noise when she was hanging herself. Okay. I literally think that's what it was.
It made for a weirder scene after the fact, though, because then he was carrying her without panties, and her shirt kept like going up, and it was just like,
and like it was
so weird.
The saddest part, like he's like basically talking to her as she's dead.
Yeah.
And it's like she looks like she's sleeping until like she just fucking slumps back, and it's like, oh, she's fucking dead. Like,
because there's a part when he's pulling the panties out of her mouth where I think one of her eyes is slightly open. I'm like, oh god, please be alive, please be alive, please be alive. Like, like there's a few moments you can be alive still. Like maybe you just caught her. Nope.
And like, so he, she dies, and you basically find out there's this big promise where it's like, oh, well, let's just remember each other every year. It's like, please don't ever forget me. And at one point, Poon was like, I'm going to forget you.
Yeah,
like,
he does.
And he's like having a dream
about
telling her.
That's when he has a dream and talking to her about it.
And dude, like the scene where she is writing the Tatanaba card, and he's getting fucking
that was
mad.
brutal. I did not like that.
It
that
made
was
me
brutal.
so uncomfortable.
It was like that was classic. Like that was full on domestic abuse.
Yeah.
Like that was like, do not do this minor thing or I will beat the shit out of you. And she's like, no, I just want to write this. I'm going to beat the shit out of you. It's like, oh god.
Well, he didn't lie.
That was like, he didn't murder anybody, but he was pretty irredeemable through the whole fucking thing.
So.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of thought, and I would have kind of liked this if we made it to the end and everybody kind of met up at the warehouse, but like they're missing like fucking 3 people. It's like, what
happened? They died. He's a murderer. He went to jail.
Yeah. Did you also, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory that they kind of bang you over the head, but Sachi and Seki were also connected. She was the daughter that he met at the
I love that.
place.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
And like she was even like, if I even met him now, I wouldn't even want him to read my manga. Like,
the one weird-ish part of that like reveal was they met, and she said that the only reason she didn't say anything to him was because like her subconscious blocked that out.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't much longer. It was like 2 years, it felt like.
Yeah, I think a big part of that is like she did recognize him when they obviously all entered like the abandoned warehouse.
Yeah.
And she was like, I was just like too like nervous, like full of myself almost to be like, I'm not going to see like.
She was cocky as shit too when she was younger.
So like, and she was like, nah, I can't. And then she's like, yeah, I think about that all the time. But it's like, I just assume that that's gone. Like I let that go, whatever,
And this book had such a fucking weird situation where they introduced too many characters almost. It felt like I couldn't keep up with who I was.
There was a rotating cast of like,
but they always came back.
Yeah.
Like they were never introducing a person without them having like a meaning.
In a weird way, they were all kind of connected.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting. And like, it's funny because Sachi at the end is like, oh no, we're not connected. Don't fucking worry about it. But it's like, they are. It's like we see the same people
just
over and over.
Realize it.
And like, even the whole thing when Aiko first meets Punpun at the driving school, you find out that Aiko chose that driving school to not meet anybody else.
Yeah.
It's like Punpun just happens to be there.
And it was like, oh.
Yeah.
Aww.
Let's kind of call it there.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we could talk about this forever, but I do have one final question for you guys. What do you think the meaning of this manga? Like, what is the takeaway from this manga? Like, what is it?
I just you reap what you sow.
You think so?
I think it's a grotesque, like bastardized version of that. Like, how fucked up can you take that concept?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say it's that. Like, yeah.
Jose, what do you think the moral of the story is?
I don't know. It's more or less just depressing how one bad thing happens in your life that could put you down this crazy path, but there's still happiness. You just can't see it because depression's kind of always at you and eating away at you.
So do you think like there's not so much of a moral of the story? It's kind of like this is kind of a deep look at pretty much depression.
Mental health. I feel
say.
it's more of a mental health issue where it's like not a lot of people understand it, and so
it was kind of like how like the new Joker was like
a little
Joker,
bit,
but it wasn't Joker. It wasn't like a DC film. It was a mental health film used with a DC character.
So you would say not so much of there's like a happy slogan to this. This is much more of here's a deep look at someone with deep mental health issues.
Yeah,
here's what I would say.
That's what I would say.
You asked would I recommend it to anybody. I have now come to the conclusion I would. People who want to have children need to read this. This is your entrance exam to having a kid. Before you have a kid, read this book and realize how important little things you do to your child are.
Yeah, that's very true.
You'll see when with the kid, I didn't want my friend to be a liar. That literally steamrolled him all the way to.
I mean, that is a great point because you do look at like we look at the main, let's say the 5 main characters they all were very deeply affected by their parents.
Yeah,
exactly, every single one of them, their parents fucked them up.
Yeah,
all of them. And like they talk about that too, where it's like, yeah, my parent, whatever, like Shimizu, her mom died. Fucked up both Seki and Shimizu.
Yeah.
And then it's like Seki's dad is just like a fucking drunk alcoholic. Has nothing.
Worthless.
It's like, Punpun situation we know got real dicked on.
Fucked.
And then Aiko for sure is like just donezo. And like she doesn't even know where her dad is.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it is a great point, which the parents, they fucked these kids up. And it's just like, this is the domino effect. Just going through like, here's all these little things, and it leads into one giant like fuck up.
Yeah, and I've seen like you can see all this shit in like normal people where like, oh, this is what happened because their parents did this to them as kids, and they kind of kept that. I've always been in the mindset it's like once you turn like 18 or so, like it's on you at that point to start making that change where it's like, yeah, they fucked you up, that you have to realize what's wrong and you have to start making those changes, otherwise you're just the same person. They didn't get that chance yet. No. Like they were literally 20 something, and it's like he didn't get an opportunity. Obviously, it went off the fucking rails and murder got involved, and I think that's beyond what normal situations are.
Punpun had multiple opportunities to change himself.
I agree, but I think
you're settled with Sachi.
You're thinking from a level-headed, like we're in our almost 30s.
I'm thinking there's a legitimate point to where he was doing real estate exam. He was getting his driver's license.
With Sachi.
Oh, I hated
all
that.
basically handed to him on a platter.
Yep.
I hated that he could not was doing all that hard work though in the background.
What is it saying? He couldn't see the forest through the bushes or something.
Couldn't see the forest through the trees.
Yes, like he couldn't see that. Like, and he was so once again just completely consumed with Aiko and sex.
Yeah.
That he was like, I'm not having sex. I don't know where Aiko is. My life sucks.
Yeah.
It was like,
yeah.
Okay.
But that could be like her, like, I don't know. Because he lived with his mom for the majority of his life.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he also lived with his uncle. Those two people are fucking horn dogs as shit. So I don't know if anything that they said or anything kind of passed that along to him where sex was like the main well,
a lot of the time people seek sex as a form of affection.
Yeah. Well, he was in the Porn Watchers Foundation. You know?
That was also a thing. Don't let your kids watch porn, kids.
Yeah. I would just think I forgot. I don't know. I feel like what you can take away from this is I don't know. It's there's a lot of messages in this manga, and they kind of try to lead you to one spot. It's like you just kind of have to accept the mediocreness, I guess. Like don't be like it's okay. I think it's okay to be mediocre. Like, I think
too.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to. And I think someone talks about it in the manga at one point too, where they're like, I'm never going to be the best at what I do, and I have to accept that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's okay. It's like you can have a happy life and do your thing and be totally happy. Okay, well, that was definitely the most dark, depressing one we've ever read. We're going to go complete 180 and go back to our degeneracy roots for the next one.
Shonens!
I was finishing this up, and I'm like, I don't trust Sam. If he goes for, like, I remember there was other comments where they're like, oh, don't read this as well. It was like, I forget whatever the book was. Don't read this if you have depression. I'm like, Sam's going to pick that fucker.
Nah, we're going, so... Prison School. I don't think it's the name of you guys seen. It's not where we're reading, first of all.
Okay.
He is doing a new manga. So we're reading that. It's called Raw Hero. That's what we're going to be doing. First 4 volumes. It's about superheroes. They give you supernatural powers. It's obviously going to be incredibly ecchi. So we're going to the more fun route of the degeneracy. We're moving out of the absolutely depressing degeneracy realm to into the this was all about sex is bad, and we're going right into sex is fun, baby.
Welcome to the guild.
God.
So we'll be back in 2 weeks, and we'll be doing the first 4 volumes of Raw Hero. So if you want to read along with us, read those in 2 weeks and check back with us. Follow us on Twitter at the Weebs Guild, Instagram at the Weebs Guild. We've recently changed the name, so if you're just finding this video, we went from Otaku to Weebs Guild. And of course, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and let us know what you guys thought of Goodnight Punpun. It's been around for a long time. Whether you know it by Oyasumi Punpun or Goodnight Punpun, let us know. We're very interested to know. I'm sure a lot of you guys will have some deep thoughts.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments down below, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.